should go in. Everyone outside must walk in and find their positions. We are about to begin the special official funeral for the late Bra Ike Maphoto. A special official funeral was declared for the late Bra Ike Maphoto on Tuesday last week, after his passing last weekend. As many would know, the President declares the special official funeral as part of his functions in terms of Section 84 of the Constitution of the Republic of South Africa, where the President confers national honors. A special official funeral and all official funerals are carried out in terms of the national policy on state funerals, official funerals, and special provincial official funerals. There are certain protocols that should be observed when an official funeral is carried out. As you will see, the honors for this funeral will be presided over by the South African National Defence Force. In terms of the South African Constitution, the South African National Defence Force is the only uniformed force other than the South African Police Service. Therefore, all protocols and honors will be led by the South African National Defence Force. The coffin of the late Bra Ike is draped in the flag of the Republic of South Africa. And once that happens, only members of the South African National Defence Force can touch the coffin. No other member can touch the coffin. Once the coffin is placed in front of the podium, no one should advance towards it, either carrying a candle or wearing any uniform other than the uniform of the South African National Defence Force. So we wish that all of us should cooperate with the protocols of an official funeral. We will soon ask you to stand as we receive the mortal remains of Ndate Bra Ike. The family will move in together with His Excellency, the President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa. And as indicated, I will alert you so that we stand as they enter the marquee, and wish to indicate to you that once they are in, we remain standing for the national anthem of the Republic of South Africa, which will be performed by the South African National Defence Force Band, which has already taken its position. For purposes of housekeeping, there are several restrooms outside in case you have to deal with the call of nature. There are restrooms on my right and some on my left, which you can use for purposes of answering the call of nature. Protocol officers, could you please request the number of people I see outside to come in? Because once the procession comes, there are only a certain number of people on the procession. We will not have more than is authorized. His Excellency, the President of the Republic of South Africa, President Ramaphosa, has arrived. We request everyone at the door to please move with speed. Please move with speed and assume your seats as we are about to start the function. Ladies and gentlemen, please rise to receive His Excellency, the President of the Republic of South Africa, His Excellency Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa. The Premier of the Province of Limpopo, Premier Stan Matabata, the Speaker of the Limpopo Provincial Legislature, as well as members of the Maphoto family led by Ike Maphoto. Fellow mourners, you may be seated. Fellow mourners, please rise to receive the mortal remains of our father, our leader, and comrade, Bra Ike Maphoto. Please remain standing for the singing of the national anthem of the Republic of South Africa. Your Excellency, Mr. President, fellow monarchs, please be seated. Your Excellency, the President of the Republic of South Africa, President Cyril Ramaphosa, Premier of the North of the Limpopo province and other premiers present, ministers and deputy ministers, Speaker of the provincial legislature, MECs from Limpopo and other provinces, members of the family, members of parliament, members of the diplomatic corps, executive mayors and mayors, leaders of political parties, traditional leaders, religious leaders, our honored veterans of the struggle, members of the leaders of the governing alliance, ladies and gentlemen, fellow monarchs, friends, and compatriots. We gather together today to lay a great son of the soil, Ntate Lisibe Isaac Ike Maphoto, a veteran of our struggle, a true patriot of the Republic of South Africa, a man who sacrificed his youth, a man who sacrificed his entire life for our people to be free and to live in freedom. His Excellency, the President, declared this a special official funeral in recognition of the stature of the man that was Ike Maphoto. I would like to begin this ceremony today by calling on the Reverend Mauchi Pataki to open with prayers and bless this most dignified send-off of Ntate Bra Ike. Reverend.
Let us pray. Heavenly Father, Lord of creation, we come before your throne of grace this morning to honor you, to say to you, thank you very much for all the things that you continue to do with and for us. We are thankful, O Lord, for the night that has passed. We are thankful, Lord, that you have made it possible for us to rise up this morning and be part of this hallowed occasion. O Lord of mercy, you who are the giver of life, we do know that all wisdom belongs to you. All power and might belongs to you. You are the source of knowledge. You are everything to all of us. We meet this morning, Heavenly Lord, as you know and are aware, to bid farewell to one of us, a great man who lived among us and performed great things, the soldier of the nation, a father of his family, and a leader of our people. Guard and guide us as we continue to convey our messages of tribute and condolences to the family. We also commend to you all those who would come and participate on this occasion, that give us the right words of mind to speak to your people. Remove any other thing that could be ill on this day, for it is in decency and human dignity that we would like to conduct both the funeral and the burial of our grandfather. Heavenly Lord, we know you know our minds, how hurt we are, looking forward to your comfort. The family, the colleagues, and the leadership of our country. Jesu Christ re ke nna tsogo le bophelo ya go wa dumela go nna o tlo phela le ga ka kwa mme a ntumela go tlo bona bophelo jo bo sa felego. Amen.
Thank you very much, Muruti Ntate Pataki. Fellow mourners, we now request the Honorable Premier of the province of Limpopo, Ntate Stanley Matabata, to give his welcoming remarks. Ntate Premier.
Thank you, Program Director, Honorable President, Ministers present here, Deputy Ministers present here, the leadership of the African National Congress, the ruling party, the leadership of other parties present here, ba lapa ba Maphoto re rata gore go lena go motsegang.
You're at 169 South Street, Polokwane.
Wa bona technology ka nako nngwe le yona e na le go tla ka tseo at a very wrong time. Re rata gore go lena go motsegang gobane ge le re go rena le re le paletše ke go diša re a le kwešiša le gona ge le re go rena le kgono le re matlampule le a bopula le bana ba tšhaba go a binela ka gorane e makgoma re a le kwešiša ka nnete le apeile ka ya Umkhonto ba Maphoto gomme re rata gore go lena ga se lena fela ge le bona setšhaba se phuthegile ka mokgwa ge le bona batho ba tlile ka makatanamane ka mokgwa le tsebeng gore ga le nnoši megogo ya lena ga ya wela fase ga la felegetša dithaka le tloga le tlišitše senatla mo faseng le la ga borena. MPs and MPLs, members of the Executive Council, the leadership of the leagues of the African National Congress, veterans of our liberation movement, members of the media, comrades, compatriots, friends, nkabe ke dirile phošo president ge nka amogela batho ka moka ka lebalabeng ba mobu kerete ba ka fokentše kgolo tša mošate mokoni morare kgoši dikgale e le go yena kgoši ya ba Maphoto re re gomotšagang madulaphateng a mošate setšhaba ka moka se se phuthegile go fa re le mmušo wa province re rata gore go lena le kgono mogapo mogolo ka nnete o wele gomme rena dithaga re lla botšorotšoro ke rata gore go lena gore le kgono re fegeletša mogale wa bagale gore go jwalo re bona ka moka ke ra le bona ba mmušo wa ka gae our mayors, councillors. I have seen the Deputy Speaker of Parliament is also here and all the leadership present here. Ge le bona ba lefa gore ka nnete dithaga re lla botšorotšoro re rena dihlagana re tla bea kae. Honorable President, let me also take this moment and opportunity to thank you for the decision to accord Bra Ike the Special Official Funeral Category 1. Re a reta, re a leboga. E a mo swanela, ebile ga go bona phošo le ga nnyane e re e bonago fao. I also want to take this opportunity to thank the executive mayors of both Cape Recon District Municipality and Polokwane Municipality for having agreed to our request to dedicate a site at the Silicon Cemetery for the burial of our heroes and heroines. I am happy to announce here today that Bra Ike will be the first of our heroes to be buried at that Heroes Ark today. We appreciate that during his lifetime, Bra Ike was conferred with the National Order of Luthuli. This was in recognition of Bra Ike's contribution to South Africa in the struggle for democracy and nation building. His organization, the African National Congress, also named one of its branches in this city after his name. This is indeed a deserved honor for a man who once faced the death gallows on foreign lands, fighting for the liberation of our motherland. It is a tribute to a man who prized the freedom of his people above his own personal freedom. Fellow mourners, we welcome you to this occasion with heavy hearts because we are today poorer without Bra Ike. However, this is also an opportunity to celebrate a life well lived, a life lived in full service of humanity. As Limpopo, we have a reason to feel proud to have produced such a quality leader with impeccable credentials. As former President Nelson Mandela would say, what counts in life is not a mere fact that we have lived, it is what difference we have made to the lives of others that will determine the significance of the life we led. Limpopo Ike Maphoto did not just live. He led a life of purpose, a life that made a difference in the lives of many other people. Bra Ike lived a life with a clearly defined purpose. His purpose was to serve his people. General Ike Maphoto leaves us with an inheritance of wisdom, servanthood, selflessness, and unmatched patriotism. As I welcome you to this final ceremony, we are able to testify that in Bra Ike we have lost a great teacher and a very great mentor. A great reservoir of knowledge and wisdom has been taken away from us. We have lost an arsenal and depository of history. The great baobab tree has fallen. And as I conclude, comrades and compatriots, I want to say to you, like President Tambo said, be vigilant, comrades. Be vigilant because those who are plotting against us are not sleeping. And when I say us, I'm not referring to any other us except the African National Congress. Comrades, be vigilant because the enemy or those who are plotting against us are not sleeping. They are spending sleepless nights trying to divide and kill this glorious movement. They are running around with wedge drivers, with bags full of wedge drivers, trying to create wedges within the African National Congress. And comrades, I want to say to you, be vigilant, stand up, bulang matlo, le khete. Comrades, I led a campaign for the CR17 in this province. And there were so many people who were assisting us financially. And I don't think the president knows about those people. Some of them I also don't know about them. And I think it was good that I should not know about them. I ran a campaign, in fact, many other people, for the chairpersonship of this province, the ranch. People who are assisting them financially, I don't even know those people. And I don't think it was necessary for me to know them. Now, why should the president know about everybody Who was funding CR17? I don't know. But comrades, I want to say to you, let's take heed of what Oliver Tambo said to us. There are people running around with bags full of wedge drivers, trying to divide this movement. And be vigilant. Late today, we want to thank the Maphoto family. Gomme re re wa lena re re se le slobileng mokgatlo wa African National Congress lona o slobile. Mmusho wa Limpopo lona o lobile. Gomme go motšegang le tsebang gore ye a ngwadileng puku e tla dula e le gona mo setšhabeng sa ga borena tsa Limpopo ga di lebogo ba gešo.
Thank you very much, Honorable Premier, for those welcoming words.
Yes, say
Request the owner of a white Audi, registration HY 94DG-GP, to remove the Audi because it's on the way. It's blocking access to other key cars. Without much further ado, we've arrived at the point where we request Honorable Soviet Likhanyane to read the obituary, and as it does so, we request all of us to stand, except those members of the family who can't do so.
How's it? You allow me to greet my people?
You do, yes.
Okay. Program directors, ba lapa la ga Maphoto le ba Leshika, President of the Republic of South Africa, Matlaji, a re fetiše molaetša go president gore phalane a Polokwane e go la gare ga mahlalero. The Premier and MECs present here, ministers and deputy ministers, veterans of the liberation struggle and former MK combatants, executive mayors and councillors present in our midst, fellow manners. Iringitše sebaka se ke fetiše molaetša wa madume go kgoši ya rena, kgoši Dikgale, ke nnete mošate o phulegile sekaku ba lata re sepela ka go shanka. The obituary of Mr. weSizwe Isaac Bra Ike Maphoto reads as follows. Mr. weSizwe Isaac Maphoto was born on 26 February 1931 to Mr. Luba Mantani David and Mrs. Mutana Dorcas Maphoto in Ramakgato village, Bloberg, Senwabarwana, Limpopo. Affectionately known as Bra Ike, Mr. Maphoto completed his standard 6 at 8 Kirk Secondary School. In 1952, the young Bra Ike went to Johannesburg in search of employment and settled in Sophiatown. He worked as a clerk in the pass office of the Department of Native Affairs in Johannesburg and was later transferred to Benoni. In 1955, he was again transferred to Pretoria. He became deeply involved in political activities organized by the African National Congress and actively participated in anti-apartheid campaigns such as boycotts, strikes, stayaways, demonstrations, pickets, and marches. His participation in the campaigns of the Roaring 50s shaped Mr. Maphoto into a more advanced cadre of the liberation struggle. As apartheid repression intensified, Mr. Maphoto left the country on 28 February 1961 through the Botswana border, fleeing from the brutal security police who wanted to arrest him for his political activism in Atteridgeville, west of Pretoria. He had earlier, in January 1961, been arrested for influencing local school children to be rebellious against the inferior education system. En route to Tanzania, Bra Ike stayed in Serowe, where he was invited to the home of Sir Seretse, a prominent political activist who later became president of Botswana. On his arrival in Tanzania in 1961, he was taken to Polokwane refugee camp and soon became involved in the running of the camp. The ANC established its own camp at a place called Kongwa, where the work of preparing ANC comrades for military training began. Bra Ike was taken with other comrades to study in Beirut, Lebanon. Mr. Maphoto was one of the 49 MK recruits to leave Tanzania via Nairobi and Sudan to the former Union of Soviet Socialist Republics for military training in September 1963. In Odessa, in the then USSR, the Soviets provided military and political training, including in infantry, weapons, communication, engineering, and commanding skills. After completing their rigorous 20-month training, the trainees returned to Kongwa camp in Tanzania in 1965. The Wankispolilo operation was the second MK operation after Operation Maibui of December 1961. The ANC forged a military alliance with the Zimbabwe African People's Union, in which MK and ZAPU armed wing, the Zimbabwe People's Revolutionary Army, would conduct a joint operation to go through Rhodesia into South Africa. As a member of the Luthuli detachment, Bra Ike was drafted into this joint campaign, which was launched in August 1967. President Oliver Reginald Tambo and MK commander Joe Modise personally wished the freedom fighters well when they crossed the Zambezi River into the then Rhodesia, now Zimbabwe. The two platoons fought fiercely and engaged the combined South African and Rhodesian armed forces at Spolilo Game Reserve. After spending over 4 months in the bush, the MK Zebra combatants almost ran out of food. On 6 April 1968, the Rhodesian forces captured Bra Ike at a nearby village where he went to request food supplies. He was detained with other captured MK Zebra combatants at Karoi police station under very harsh conditions. On 9 August 1968, the then Salisbury High Court sentenced him to death by hanging on terrorism charges. Bra Ike accepted his fate as a gallant freedom fighter, but following massive international pressure, their death sentences were commuted to life sentences, and they were incarcerated at the Kami maximum security prison under very harsh and dastardly conditions. Their rooms were filthy, with no beds, without blankets or pillows, and the food was awful. They were also subjected to occasional solitary confinement. Bra Ike fought for the prisoners' rights, including better conditions and sporting activities. After his release from prison in 1980 by the government of Zimbabwe under then President Robert Mugabe, Bra Ike continued with the work of the ANC, including traveling to many countries to mobilize the international community against the apartheid regime. The countries he visited included Libya, Cuba, Scotland, England, Italy, Spain, USSR, Germany, Chile, Sudan, Ethiopia, and Switzerland. Following the unbanning of the ANC and the release of Nelson Mandela and other political prisoners in 1990, Mr. Maphoto became involved in mobilizing resources to fund the education of needy children. After the dawn of freedom and democracy in 1994, he worked closely with the then Northern Transvaal province, now Limpopo, Premier Ramathodi, in the administration of bursaries. He initiated the Limpopo Premier Bursary Fund, which helped many students from disadvantaged communities in Limpopo to further their tertiary education. In 2004 and 2009, respectively, he was elected to the Limpopo Provincial Legislature and served the people of Limpopo with distinctions. Bra Ike worked closely with all presidents of the ANC, Mr. Oliver Reginald Tambo, Mr. Holitata Nelson Mandela, Mr. Mvuyelwa Thabo Mbeki, Mr. Gidleitlekisa Jacob Zuma, Mr. Cyril Ramaphosa. In 2006, the then President Mbeki awarded him the Order of Luthuli in silver for his excellent contribution in dedicating his life to a free and just democratic South Africa. The ANC has awarded a medal to Bra Ike for his bravery and long service to the armed struggle. In 2012, the then President Jacob Zuma awarded him a medal for bravery in gold. The ANC branch in Bendo, Polokwane, which became Ike's home for many years, has been named after him. He was an outstanding freedom fighter and a patriot who dedicated his entire life to the service of the people of South Africa. Mr. Maphoto is survived by 2 sisters, 3 sons, a daughter, 14 grandchildren, and 18 great-grandchildren. Tloya Lishoka, Fula Miru Wabaleji, Karl Shoka Setafala Levelage, Robalaga Kuchu, Mugunu and Chidhol.
Thank you very much, and that Soviet Likhanyan. We now will request Winnie Mashaba to provide us with a musical item in honor of Bra Ike.
Jesus.
Thank you very much, Winnie and the team. We were supposed to pilot this program with my leader, Advocate Ramatlodi, but he had to attend to an emergency at home. He's back now. However, we will pilot it with Minister Kumbutso Nchabeni, who will now take over. Minister.
Thank you, DG. Ria leboga. Ka o motsotso re tla beitsa ba emetseng ba lela tokologo ba rena ore ba tlo ntsha mantswe a tshedisho re tla beitsa Mr. Sandi Sejake.
Thank you. Melissa, the family of Comrade Makopo is the mourners, President Cyril Ramaphosa, the premiers of provinces present here, the foreign representatives, cabinet ministers, and also greater appreciation of the people from the Department of Defense, which they took care of us as veterans. It's a great honor to see them around here. And in a word, all protocol observed, Melissa, and also saluting the comrades I have been with over the many years from the 1960s. I've seen some of them here, and also those are the great people. Actually, I feel very small to be talking when there are some of them were my commanders and also my political leaders abroad in their presence here. And at the same time, I feel quite an honor to be speaking on this day of Comrade Ike Maphoto as we send him for the last time to rest. First, I've met Comrade Ike Maphoto at Kongwa Camp. Kongwa Camp was a very harsh place, and in many ways, dramatically, and it had a terrible physical effect on us, such that we actually saluted and appreciated people like Comrade Ike Maphoto who remained when a few of us left on their own, and of course in military terms they were called, they deserted the camp, but Comrade Ike Maphoto, as you have heard from his obituary, is one of the comrades who remained steadfast to the cause the people of South Africa sent him abroad to perform in order to return home through the organization and not through his own means. After Congo, Comrade Ike Maphoto, with a large number, we came to Zambia. That was in 1967. In 1967, I have here to correct a little bit, which I always feel a little bit hurtful. I'm sure all the colleagues in the veterans of the ANC will agree. There is a tendency of confusing people about the Wangi and the Sipolilo operations. I believe that it's important that we, given this opportunity, we correct that aspect of it. The issue is that the comrades who crossed to Rhodesia on the western side, it was on the 2nd of August, 1967. They included a comrade from here late comrade Pukanoka. He was one of those comrades, and quite a number of them. Those are the comrades who fought at Wangi and got arrested, those who survived in Botswana. Comrade Ike and other comrades, they crossed towards the end of '67 on the northeastern part of Zimbabwe, which is called Sipolilo. They stayed there for quite a number of months. Of course, they were more disadvantaged than the Wangi comrades, because as freedom fighters, they had to be stationary. That is, they established a number of small satellite bases inside Zimbabwe with their main headquarters. Comrade Ike Maphoto was actually working within the headquarters of the joint MK and Zebra comrades. One of the aspects is we always visited them from Zambia. There was a base, first base once you cross the river, which of course the comrade Ike Maphoto and another comrade here was called George Dow. They you always argue, one was saying, no, this base is 18 kilometers or miles from the Zambezi River. Another one will say, no, it's 20 kilometers or miles, but that was part of the story. And Comrade Ike used to be posted there sometimes simply because it was one of the first places where we had arms caches, which had to be guarded. So he used to command about 3 comrades who actually looked after that base. And sometimes, of course, they would rotationally go back to the headquarters in the main camp, where there was the commander, of course, was a ZAPU comrade, Lucas Khadere. Then, towards the end of March 1968, the Rhodesian army surprised the base very early in the morning. That's where the major issue of fighting started. The comrades, of course, in that base, they were very subjected in very heavy bombardment, because it seems that the Rhodesians, they knew the exact demarcation of the army, of their base. So that's where Comrade Ike got actually to be involved in the actual fighting. And when the comrades dispersed, they dispersed in different directions, and finally some of them managed not to be captured for a long time, but most of our comrades died there. And it is, of course, one of the painful things that all the preceding presidents in this country, in the ANC, they have never, not one single day, ever thought of ensuring that while we're still alive, we go to Zimbabwe to ensure that we can show the people of this country where some of their actual sons perished. Nobody. We, in this country, we can commemorate the First World War as the heroes of liberation. We commemorate the Second World War about the heroes of liberation, but always quiet about our own people who led to the present dispensation. That has been I have been honored in the sense that I was part of the people who raised the same issue with most of the past presidents in this country. But they never, ever took heed of that. And instead, they established some commissions to go and look, search outside the borders of the remains of the comrades who might be returned and interred inside of the country. That is great and very important. We don't minimize or play it as insignificant. It's very important that every South African, where possible, must be brought back and be reinterred in this country. But the issue is those gallant comrades, nobody. So that was part of Comrade Ike's group. The other critical and the most important thing that the Comrade Ike group and the comrades and also those who were at Wanke, they helped us in the ANC to rethink about our struggle. The processes of rethinking were very painful. Comrades, some of them are here, as I'm saying, if there was time, they could talk about that. That led to the Morogoro Consultative Conference, which gave the ANC a way forward in the form of having actually the tactic and strategy, restructuring the ANC, even establishing a revolutionary council. We were helped by the experiences we could actually infer from the operations in Wanke and Sipulilo, where Comrade Ike participated directly. Back home, I'm not going to talk too much about that, is that the obituary is covered, which helped me. Then myself also, I've been part of, that's why actually I've my cap here, but in respect of the comrade here, as part of the veterans, the ANC Veterans League, and also of Limpopo, where we have a chairperson here, Comrade Marul, and Dade Rashaka Rashtanga, our secretary. They were supposed to be here, but they, due to other actually deployment, they're not here. However, knowing the province and having been active in this province, we have a great pain, you know, which is very terrible, you know, where we see that ANC has been turned, which Comrade Ike belongs, that is the ANC Veterans League, and he has been instrumental in its establishment. It has been turned into a money market of some sort. People talk about the late Oliver Tambo having talked about the bag of wedges. The critical thing that is killing the country, not just the ANC, is the bag of money. The bags of money are the thing that go around. We have witnessed it in many occasions here in Limpopo. Bags of money. People no longer join the ANC and in order to serve the people of South Africa. They join it because they believe, and in some instances have succeeded in ensuring that they will become part of the carriers of the bags of money in going around the country and undermining everything. In the course of that, during the last elections, we used to put posters here. When I was here, many people, they said, man, where are the ANC posters? And in some of the village, they were saying to us, once we were talking to them, they saying, look, we are going to vote the ANC simply because we see you guys, that we know that you never disappointed us. We are not going to ensure that the EFF actually, they can put as many posters, but a poster does not vote, it is the human being that votes. Why I'm saying this is that at the same time, our people here in Limpopo, it's nice that President Cyril Ramaphosa is here today. They, as a chief political head of the ANC, they say there are people who have been formally mentioned about the vendor building society. They looked at the money of old people, some of them are older than myself. People who feed their grandchildren, and those grandchildren, and whether to go to school, to eat even porridge, depend on that. But some of those people are still the leaders in this province under the ANC. We committed in the ANC Veterans League that we will never rest with the members of the population here until the ANC Nazareth resolution, which fortunately ensured that Comrade Ramaphosa becomes the president, said any member of the ANC who is an office bearer, once implicated, not actually proved by any court or anything, once implicated in a wrongdoing, must step down from the position of responsibility. Some of you saw Comrade Ike in one of the press briefings. Yeah, it's not what I'm saying, it's a new thing, it's not. He also expressed the same thing on the press briefing of the ANC Veterans League of the province of Limpopo. He expressed the same sentiment. It's not what that I'm inventing myself. So we believe that the time has come for us to be, that our people and leaders, they stop to treat us as the dwarves of the yesteryear. We become human beings and taken serious, not on occasion of the funeral, but in life in general and everyday life. That is the critical aspect of what Comrade Ike Maphoto and the ANC Veterans League of Limpopo have stood for. It is not too much to ask that. Not the other aspect, the veterans of the struggle, very few of them remaining here. Some of them, they don't have houses. Some of them, they have it difficult to access medical aid and medical assistance. And we have been raising that issue, that the veterans, including Comrade Ike Maphoto, possibly should have lived longer had it been able to care for them. And we have never even thought of canceling our veterans. What we'll always do in the ANC branches and others those ones, but we appeal that as we send Comrade Ike Maphoto, his aspirations, that the people who are doing wrong in the ANC must not be left in positions of responsibility in the ANC until they must step down. It's not that they must get out of the ANC, they must step down in order to help the organization, serve the people of South Africa. And lastly, we are very much concerned that we have departed totally from the aspirations and the principles of the Freedom Charter. We talk about the transformation, radical economic transformation. What's wrong with the Freedom Charter, which says that everything must be nationalized and be under the state? We thank you very much, Program Director, and we love you very well.
Thank you to our veteran, Ntate Sandi Sijake. We hope that in your lifetime we'll document the history of our struggles and the battles that you fought for our freedom accurately, so that your children and your grandchildren can be fully informed of the sacrifices you have made whilst you were alive. The freedom we celebrate today is because of the contributions of yourselves and Comrade Ntate Titi Chulo, who's also amongst us. At this moment, fellow mourners will receive Nathan Tatus on a musical item.
Thank you very much, Nathan Titus, for that wonderful rendition. We now, fellow mourners, move to the part where we give the family an opportunity to pay their last respects to their father, grandfather, great-grandfather, brother, and patriarch of the family, Ntate Bra Ike Maphoto. The first from the family, speaking on behalf of children, we will request Bra Ike Maphoto to come forward. Mike.
Good morning. How are you? Yes. This item is very difficult for me. It says I must represent the children. It's a very difficult topic. But I want to start by telling the program directors that my English is not very good. Maybe it's because of my bringing up, which was also not good. So you'll pardon me. And I would like to, Your Excellency, Mr. President, by acknowledging, accepting on behalf of the family that we really appreciate for giving our father a special funeral. We really thank you for that. This is what he was requesting. He told me that when I die, I want the army to be there and I want the president to be there because I deserve it. So to him, it was a wish, and maybe he's listening, that your dream has become true. Even the coffin, he said, it must be smart. Because he liked beautiful things. And he will always say, you know, you are smart, you are just like me. And you look healthy, you are just like me. So that was him. But I want to tell you today that when I grew up, I never thought, I never knew him. You know, the mothers, when you ask them, who is my father, they just get upset. Actually, they will give you a task. Go play with other kids. But you know, people are talking. So one person was talking to someone and say, this is my brother's son. But my brother that was killed in Botswana. I say, wait a minute, I am a son and my father is killed. I'm going to ask my grandmother. Actually, who is my father? So at that stage, I did not know what is Matseka, but I just thought that's police. But you know, you start worrying. When you are a young man, you want to know, you want to find your ways. And I was surprised one afternoon, one lady came to the house and said, I was in Harare and I met a certain man His name is Ike Maphoto. He sent me to number 37 Maubani Street to go and check if Nunu Alisili Tswalo is still alive and her son Mike. That was Comrade Grace. He was member of MP and she has passed on. May her soul rest in peace. And we managed to talk over the phone and introduce myself to the old man. But at that stage, it was so cumbersome to say, hi, uncle, hi, father, because I was under the impression that I'm talking to a terrorist, a guerrilla, a bandit. So it was cumbersome. And he said, are you Nunu's son? I said, yes. He said, then you are my son. But he tried to, he wanted to say, but sorry, it was not deliberate that I left you. I wanted to bring you up. I think he was starting to feel guilty of the pub health. For those of you who don't know what a pub health is, you can ask Dr. Malinga, what the judge So he thought I was going to ask him that thing, but I said no. But he said to me, don't worry, we are finished. We have beaten them, we have killed them, we are coming back home. But not so long, there were some bombings in Harare. I think somewhere in 1988, 1987, there were some bombings in Harare. And then there come two Afrikaner Siengis at home to say, I was with my grandmother and said, we have killed Isaac, but we want you and your grandmother to start preparing for the funeral. I said, no, wait a minute. Where is the body? Don't worry, we'll bring the body. But then I went back to Comrade Grace. She said, that man died again. Because they came two boys and said they've killed him. But we managed to call Harare, and then we found him and we clarified. He said it was not me, it was something else. But for the first time when I met him, we were at the border between South Africa and Zimbabwe. But I did not actually have contact with him because it was still not safe. Then I went back home and tell his mother that your son is still alive. Then we went to the Shell House with Sam Pono from Eastern Cape to fetch him and bring him in Atteridgeville. But he told me that I cannot stay in Atteridgeville. I want to stay in Limpopo where the suffering started. I want to help my people. You mustn't worry that I'm not going to be with you. I'll give you money, but you must remain home. I want to develop Limpopo. That is why he wanted to be in Limpopo. That is why he established himself very well in Limpopo, make sure that the people know him, that I'm here to serve you. He was the servant of the people. And one thing he always tell me was that two things: never steal from your organization. Never steal from your organization. He also said to me, you must never fight for positions. People must fight for you, not you fighting for position. Every time when I'm with him, he will never talk about corruption. he was talking about ANC, the rich culture of the ANC. If you are apolitical, after his lecture, you will go and look for ANC offices, because he will teach you about ANC. He loved ANC by heart. When he was at the One Mill Hospital in 2012, he stayed 6 months there until on the last month of Mangaung conference. He was at the ICU. He was not talking to anyone. But the time he opened his mouth, he said, ANC Tambuluka. But he was unconscious, but he opened the mouth to say, ANC Tambuluka. I said, this old man loved the ANC so much. I never heard him expressing how much he loved me. So it means the ANC was in his heart. He was so committed to ANC that even sometimes when he talks to me, he says, hey, comrade. I said, no. Let me correct, I'm not your comrade. I'm your son. I'm trying to say these things. You know, we are mourning, but at the same time, I'm trying to share with you this type of a man you were living with. He loved the children. There's no doubt about it. He told me, I will never leave any child without going to school because of money. That is why he fought so much for the young children to get bursaries, he would go all out to make sure that kids are going to school. He did not know them. He never made me a scholar or a scientist, but he preferred to do that to other people's children. But he told me that, listen, you must not be jealous. I will help you, but allow me also to help other children. So that's the type of man he was. That is why today we have Asnat Mahaba here. He actually wanted Asnat Mahaba to talk on the day of his funeral. But you know, the organizers, sometimes they are ignorant. Because I told them that they must come to me, I give them the list. George Tahu is here from Zimbabwe. He told me that George Tahu must talk from Zimbabwe. They were together in prison. And George Tahu is here. He told me Mike Mpofu must talk. And Mike Mpofu is here among us. And Asnat Mahaba. Those were the three people that he would have loved them to talk about him. But now, you must remember, I mustn't lose focus on my item. My item is to represent the children. Let me leave politics for politicians. So then, as time goes on, he said to me, there's something that I want to tell you. I wanted to tell you, but I was scared. But let me tell you. But he was very sick by then, you know, he thought he was dying. So he told me the truth. I've got a daughter. A daughter, yes. When I left the country, I already had a daughter in 1952, but I never saw her again. But she is here. She looks like you. I think you are trying to convince me so that I must accept. I said, okay, it's fine. I'll meet her. Not so long, he said, I've got another child. But that one is from Zimbabwe. He also looks like you. Then he said, no, man, you see, much as I love ANC, I was also loose, you know, so I happened to have another child. I said, old man, you are really prolific. But because the list is endless, can you put it in writing so that... So that is on the home front. That was part of it. But you know, the good part of it, he was honest with me. But he was only worried. Why must he tell me? Because he thought he made a mistake by having those children. And I said, you see, I got no say, you are my parent. You must remember, I didn't have my father for 32 years, so I didn't know him, so I couldn't have so much control on him. But let me leave that. I think we have had enough of that. I just want to summarize on his last few days before he left this world. I visited Polokwane recently, 2 weeks back, and then I was with him. I asked him, old man, nowadays, man, you frequent too much into the hospital. What is your problem? What is bothering you? He said, son, I'm tired. And people have seen I've worked, I've done everything, but now I'm tired. And you must take over. I said, no, take over what? Unless you show me your banking details. You know, so that I'm sure that the baton is with me now. Yeah, but and when I was leaving him, he said, you must phone General Bushi Sidibe to make sure that I'm given a decent funeral. So I immediately phoned General Sidibe and said, the old man is talking. He says, when he dies, you must make sure he's given a decent funeral. That was on Sunday, and before the other Sunday came, he has already passed on. That's how he died. So for the children, I'm saying, Daddy is dead, Daddy is no more. Let us accept, let us allow him, because he could have died many years ago. The day he escaped the country, the day he was in the battlefield, the day he was sentenced to death, all the hospitals that he attended in South Africa, he could have died. But because God gave him another chance. But before I leave, I want to thank everyone, the doctors, the nurses, the people who were taking care of him, the helper, the lady in the house, Mabula, I think she's among us here, the two ladies who were there when he passed on that Saturday morning, they are also here. We must thank them all, and all the doctors that were there to try to save his life. Doctors don't stop death. They can only help you to improve your life. So you must not blame doctors when somebody dies. It's not their duty to stop death. I thank you.
Thank you very much, Mike. Well represented indeed. We now request the Reverend Maphoto to speak on behalf of the family.
program director, botlhe ba ba lego mo ba bagolo, ke kwele gore President Ramaphosa o gona mo, ke be ke re matšatši a tlhabirwa tamiša sebata seo tšhibanda tša mabanda tšhibanda tša khoroma ke le dumedišitše ka moka ke be ke re pele ke bolela program director laun ruri ka boikokobe ke bommakatšang ke no kgopela ngwana a ditsebišo le ba Maphoto ke bomang mokodi kone modumo.
In the best interest of time, akere all protocol observed. Kere go basepediši ba modiro. Kere akele rome lenkele ka mafateng a magolo le ntamišetše ba ka mošate le ba ye ka gati go ya ka go fetana ga bona. Ga le fetša le dumediše mmušo o rena re o ratago go ya ka magato a bona. Ke dumediše ba madi le lešika bakoni ba ga Maphoto. Ke re go bo malome ka moka ba ba le go gona. Ke re fotlhelang serope bakoni le itlhoboge. Ke re go bo mmane baka le bo mmamogolo bao ba le go gona. Ke re metsi a pšhilele a bona tshwang mare le itlhoboge. Ke boele go rena bana ba dikgadi ka moka ba ba le go mo. Ke re bana ba dikgadi tša ga Maphoto malome sho. Bana ba bo malome ka moka le bona ke re go bona ke re malome wa ka sho. Jwalo malome a ke bitše maina a mabedi a mararo a bakoni ba ga Maphoto. Ke tle ke ba botše gore malome wa goroga. Ke re Maphoto ke mang? Maphoto ke mogodimo wa bara wa shiko ba nape a rakhukhu. Ke ra di fedile ditaba di fela ka wena mokoni. Ke re Maphoto ke lepono le le go ge le ya ntweng la ske la apara selo la phatha ga tšhotšha le lerumo. Ba re ge ba mogotla mokoni a šitwa ke go lla a re mai babo batho ba tšhoga ba makala ba re selo se ga se motho ke lepono la mai babo. Ke batho ba makgona go šoga go roka ba sa kgone. Ba seepe segolo sa makeketa seepe se reng go rema sa tlhakantšha dithaba ke mokoni. Ba re ke babina phuti mokokotlo ke letlogolo tša marangrang magalautle ke kgomo nthopeng. Ba re mokoni o tšhaba go itshegiša ka batho. Mokoni o bina phuti ya naga, o tšhaba go bina pudi ya ka gae. Motho wa le go mo ke morwa katse ya mathudi ngau. Ke batho ba monyelele modimo wa go sepela ka fase. Ba re ke batho ba segagodi semela tedu pele ga bo mogolo wa sona. Ke batho ba ga Maphoto ba bua seriting sa thaba ya mogodimo. Ke bakoni. Ba re hei wena mokopane ntšha dira tlhogokgolo ya Matebele gobane sera se tšhošitše batho ka gare go maholo a go befa a ga mokopane. Batho ba re mokopane ke mang ka ga Maphoto? Ba re makopane ke rangwane ya sekape sa Maphoto, ke rangwane ya sekape sa bomolatelo le bontapi. Ke batho ba bo sekoukou molatelo se bolaya kgadi ya bo ditshetla. Ke batho ba ba sa kgonego go šuwa ke šetše ke ba buletše. Gomme malome e re ke fetše ke ya mafelelong ke re ke ngwana kgadi ga ke tšhabe baditi baditi ba tšhaba nna modipadi ya ngwata wa moraso ya moloto ke re ga ke fetša ke re batho ba ga Maphoto ke batho ba motho wa bošego a kubi utla ba kuba lenyatsi ya mmago mokoni we mogodimo we ai mogodimo iya malome
Tabe ya mafelelo ska la ishala morao a ena bothata jo bokalo e reng ke thomeng ka go leboga hle ke mogolo wa rena ke lo thoma ka go reta ke re ngwana letswalo la Mmatau la o lenyalo ke special ala ka la tshwana le manyalo a mangwe sa leno ba lona le wilo ka saba le lengwe la mokhuteo ba letswalo ke ba borena ke letswalo la Mmatau thibela madi o falela teng ka di 18 early memorial service I immediately got worried ke re ge Ike Maphoto a sepela o kopana le Dr. Mandela ba khwetša ona le injustice mo ba ilo thoma ANC yengwe a le ba di khwetša dilo di sa sepele botsele godimong ba e thoma a sa ka ba dumelela injustice ka baka leo mo go nna ke tlotlo e kgolo go emela tšhaba sa bakone le go introduce to you Mike gore rena ba ga Maphoto ka moka o tswa botlhabela bodikela borwa le bokone re re o kgoši ya rena o tloga le kgono I'm appointing you bjale ka e mogolong ba kone le ke fetša ke eno bjale ge ba tloga go šala wena re hlokomele o thoma bokone papa o sepetse ditsela ka ga o ne ba Maphoto la sa ba tsebeng re thuše to unite the Maphoto for the ANC go bona ANC ka mo Limpopo e wintšha ke ba Maphoto bjale ke no re kgoši ya tloga e nngwe ya dula ko wena moetapele wa rena your father was a unifier o ba re hlokometše ga o ne leloko le a sa le hlokomelang go ya ga Maphoto Johannesburg farm o ba hwetša o gona moo go ya ga Seleka o mo hwetša o fetile moo ke motho a re hlokometšeng a sa ka ra kopana ka mokgo re kopantšhitše ke Ike ke bile ke re le kgone ke le kgopelele tshwarelo ke kwa gore TT tšholo gona mo maloba ke di tsebišitše gore when he was captured ko Polokwane ba captura ka baka la morodi ya Maphoto wa Ike o gona mo maabane ba kopane le TT tšholo ba boledišana re ke kgopela tshwarelo e ba itse ba tlampha malekere le le kgone they have never delivered those sweets ka baka le ete when Chulu was captured morodi ya Maphoto o ile a se tsebe ena wa mogala wa ona o dula ka kamoreng ye ya bane ba tsena maphodisa ba bereka mošomo wa bona le tsebe setlhogo se sebe se le gona mo South Africa it is a fit on the Kamuka. I don't think even in hell we'll have that suffering. I may today choose to go to hell. I don't think we'll get sufferings. tše di be di le mo e be le dikotsi batho ba be ba bolawa ba bolaelwa gore ke batho gola ba elwa le modimo. Ike Maphoto re tshwantse mo direla a foundation eo kgopela gore ba mmušo ba be part of it. Mike, you'll be taking care of that initiative. We'll financially support you and make sure that we establish Ike Maphoto's foundation. We invite all those who may be interested to be part of us to help us to retain this name, a wonderful name, a freedom fighter. Batswadi baka, ke re gole rena ba ga Maphoto rena ba kone ba ntšhile kgolo tshwanetse di tswa mo godimo re re ANC is our home and we will support it and we'll take care, but let it be the ANC eo Maphoto a bego a e lwela e se ka ba a new ANC ye Maphoto a bego a e lwela. If you kill me for the truth, I will do that, I'll accept the death. Opposition parties, they are willing, they are shy. Bana ba motho a ba lo ba uma a re bolang ke be ke bala history nyane nngwe monne mong ka morwa o itjare monna ka gore you are in the opposition party. President. No, I may not do it, it's one of us. So opposition parties, let be filled with respect and we continue with the truth. Whenever the power also shorter economic power. Up to Cyril Ramaphosa and the cabinet to acquire that for us. You are the heritage of Wagana, Richushet and Ariaka Molekamo, Refoshana Kaditulo, Kilibudicha Maraka, Bashimanyana, Vernadi Timuana, Jarnata or Raluka, all Tomavana Rausen or Sarabor. Aya, Arasa Raluka Grab, Chenete Arasa Beta, Ya, Metro Fedil. Ki bona kwa parlamenteng ba swaine ka maoto ba kharametsana ba foshana ka dilo ke ro papadi le rena ba shimanyana she dilo tsa bosoro ba ba go loga ba khorometsana ba sutse ba wa tswa ke bukiwa dubala. If you cannot beat me, then join me. Ge ba gona le ba modimo a ratang gore ba be ba etsa pele ka mora wa ANC ga ba thoma wa be to prepare their way ba rena di elections ba phale ANC wonderful then re ba be ba lo fosha stilo ka ra parliament a wa le di fura di tshene mabele bo shuga di ba ro ma bana ke be ke le tse rugby ya fetsa banna ba ba di scrum ge ba tshwarane mola ba elwa football ya tswa kana bona ba sa shara ba tshwarane ba ba shile kwa ya raiwa la le tla le salwa la kwetsa magwa ba se pekele tšhelete ke ya lebo.
Reverend Maphoto, on behalf of the Maphoto family and the extended family of the ANC. Fellow mourners, it's now time to receive the eulogy by His Excellency, the President of the Republic of South Africa. He needs no introduction. Your Excellency, President Matamela Cyril Ramaphosa.
Ike, Amandla, Amandla, Viva ANC, Viva! Long live Bra Ike Maphoto, long live! Thank you. Ari dilem fast. Dumela, Dimacherun, Abshin, Molweni, Sanbonani, program directors, members of the Maphoto family, Liena Mike Maphoto, Onaemimu, Otomile nka hore ha tsebo bolela sekgowa a se bolela sekgowa a ntsha le ditaba tsa ka lapeng tse dintši ke a mmotsa hore papa ha go nana le bana ba bakae a re no o tla checka mo willing ministers and deputy ministers, the Premier of Limpopo, Comrade Stan Chupu Matabata, the veterans of our movement, religious and traditional leaders, Lekhosi Dikhale, MECs and mayors and councillors, and members of the national and provincial legislatures, and the leadership of the African National Congress, SACP, COSATU, and SANCO, and indeed the leaders of other political parties who are here with us, as well as Comrade Ike Maphoto's friends and colleagues who have come from other countries. A special greeting to all of us here, but especially those from the heroic Luthuli detachment. We honor you and we thank you for being here. On behalf of the government and the people of South Africa, and on behalf of the African National Congress, I would like to convey our deep condolences to the family, to the comrades and friends and relatives of Comrade Ike Maphoto, whom we all fondly knew as Bra Ike. For the past 4 days, the national flag of our country has been flying at half-mast around the country. And this has been in tribute to this great soldier, who was also an unwavering patriot, a mentor, a friend, a philanthropist, and a much-loved father and grandfather and great-grandfather. It was the legendary American barrister, Clarence Dorough, the defender of the workers, the poor, and the marginalized in the early 20th century, who said, "In the great flood of human life that is spawned upon the earth, it is not often that a man is born." Close quote. Yes, today we can say that it is not often that a person like General Ike Maphoto, who's lying here before us, is born. Fellow mourners, we are here today to pay tribute to such a man of distinction, of resolve, of immense courage, and of selflessness, a man who devoted his life to the liberation of our people, a man who, at great cost to his own family, was able to put his people first. He suffered the pain of exile, and there are many of our comrades who were in exile who are here today, who will testify to how painful that life in exile was. He survived incarceration in a foreign land, He forsook the comforts of ordinary life to pick up a backpack and a rifle in the course of the liberation struggle. He cheated death on a number of occasions, and as we heard his son was saying, that man has died again. He survived. He fought and endured hardship that would have crushed the spirit and the resolve of any human being. But he was no ordinary man. Bra Ike was made of sterner stuff. He was from the Legion of Umkhonto, the detachment of Luthuli, and the standard bearers of the politically conscious and revolutionary army of Umkhonto weSizwe. Bra Ike and the veterans we have from the detachment here with us today answered history's call. They took up arms in the cause of freedom at a time when the liberation forces were in the firing line of the racist Pretoria regime at a time like no other. They were prepared to charge into battle for what they believed was a glorious cause. Our people's demands for freedom were being responded to with untold brutality, torture, and death. The movement's leaders were forced into exile. The regime's police were wreaking havoc in our villages and in our townships and cities. The apartheid defense force was actively destabilizing the neighboring states in pursuit of our guerrillas and fighters and to smash the MK networks. The men and women who joined Umkhonto weSizwe at such a time were amongst the bravest of the brave. It was a time when any association with the liberation movement risked imprisonment, it risked torture, and even death. Those who decided to join the ranks of MK, like Comrade Ike Maphoto, were young and their entire lives lay before them. But in service to the people of our country, they decided that, notwithstanding all the risks, they would join. They were uncompromising and understood that a life that was not lived in freedom was no life at all. Bra Ike and his comrades understood that freedom does not come without a price. He knew that freedom cannot be bestowed. It had to be fought for. We may sometimes take the freedom that we enjoy today for granted, but it has been earned through the ultimate sacrifice paid by so many of the members of our armed forces. In the words of President O.R. Tambo at the 25th anniversary of MK in 1986, he said, open quotes, "Once we took that road, there would be no going back. A road that was going to necessitate total dedication, self-sacrifice, and a determination that knew no surrender. A road along which commitment not to submit but to fight would have to be transformed into the uncompromising warrior pledge, victory or death," close quotes. Bra Ike was a soldier of the revolution. He joins the glorious ranks of many of our comrades like George Nene, Archie Sibeko, Chris Hani, Thandi Modise, and many others who are here today, whose actions lit the path for our freedom. The story of his life offers many lessons to us today. Lessons in courage, lessons on the virtue of discipline, and on the limitless capacity for endurance of the human being. But perhaps, above all, it is a lesson on devotion to a mission and to a cause, no matter how long and how hard the road. It was our President O.R. Tambo who also said, open quotes, that indelible page in the history of our struggle is written in the annals of the Luthuli detachment, close quotes. These brave men were the vanguard of MK. They fought with gallantry and intensity, taking on the might of the combined forces of the apartheid army and the Ian Smith regime in the then Rhodesia. The Luthuli detachment was formed to infiltrate South Africa and to open routes for our fighters in joining with their brothers in arms from Frelimo in Mozambique and the ZIPRA forces, that is the Zimbabwe People's Revolutionary Army. Their lives were in constant danger from the racist armies of the countries through which they crossed. Bra Ike took part in the many campaigns of the Luthuli detachment. He was among those who were sent by MK for military training, which he completed, as we had, in Beirut in Lebanon and the then Soviet Union. When he completed his training, he was sent to an ANC military base in Kongwa in Tanzania, as we had. Life in the camp was extremely difficult, and the conditions were grueling, especially for young men like Bra Ike, who were rearing to go to fight in the front line. It is here that we learn of some of the virtues that epitomized Bra Ike: respect for the leadership of the movement and for his fellow soldiers, discipline, and understanding that their mission was difficult and that it would take time, and forbearance, the willingness to undergo hardship in pursuit of a bigger goal. These codes of honor spurred the men and women of Bra Ike's generation and continued to guide them even once we had attained our freedom. They knew too well that the pursuit of a just struggle, such as ours, would not end with the dawn of democracy. They understood, as we do today, that the cause of building a nation, of truly realizing a society that is democratic, non-racial, non-sexist, and prosperous, will necessitate sacrifices in pursuit of the common goal. Their lives were lived appreciating that to reach our ultimate goal requires courage, fortitude, and above all, revolutionary morality and discipline. There is no greater symbol of unity in pursuit of a common goal than a band of soldiers working, living, fighting, falling, and even dying together. This is the unity we should strive towards building the South Africa of our dreams. The men and women of MK and of the Luthuli detachment were able to advance, confront, and defeat the enemy because they worked together, because they did not descend into infighting, because they saw the bigger picture. Let us ponder on this image and let us strive to emulate it. This is what Bra Ike also stood for, as we heard from his son Mike today. The Luthuli detachment distinguished itself in the famous Wanki and Sipolilo campaigns, also known, as we heard, as the Western Front and the Eastern Front campaigns. As we read the historical accounts, we are awed by the bravery that they displayed. They are stories of advancing deep into hostile territory under cover of darkness, of hiding along crocodile-infested riverbanks, of encountering locals who did not speak their language and being unable to determine who was friend or foe, of going into battle with the battle cry, "Mahlome." They fought, refusing to retreat, often to the bitter end. We remember and salute those who lost their lives, like Patrick Molawa, president of the ANC Youth League, Michael Powe, Basil February, Andries Motsepe, Jack Simelani, and Gandhi Hlekani, and a number of others. We remember those like Bra Ike, who were captured and imprisoned and sentenced to death by the racist Rhodesian regime. Prison did not break them, and their courage continued to know no bounds. And yet it was not courage alone that fueled them. They were men and women of revolutionary morality who were committed to the values of our liberation movement. With courage and character, General Ike put his life on the line to defend and to win our freedom, and was prepared to pay the ultimate sacrifice. When we think about the sacrifices people like Bra Ike have made and listen to their lives in exile, their lives of suffering, we should not cast a shadow on what they have done for our freedom. They have shown us that they are more than good enough. We should not cast a shadow on their lives and their sacrifices by doing things that put our movement's name into shame. Though he is no longer with us, the ideas for which Bra Ike stood will not die. To Bra Ike, attaining freedom was a living fire of unquestioned belief and purpose. We are confident that he has left behind men and women who are determined to continue the fight for a non-racial, democratic, and prosperous South Africa. To carry on this legacy, we must sharpen our revolutionary conviction to contribute to the ongoing transformation of our country. And that we should do without any motive of material advantage or personal gain, as Bra Ike continued to say. Bra Ike abhorred corruption and the abuse of the movement to enrich oneself. I'm certain that Bra Ike would have been in the forefront of those against the beneficiaries and the defenders of state capture. In his honor, we must double our efforts by intensifying the fight against corruption and hold accountable all those who facilitated the capture of the state. Until his last days, Bra Ike identified and represented a fighting force for justice. As most of us know, he would not be separated from his signature MK regalia. In recognition of his gallant and brave contributions to the struggle for liberation and the creation of a non-racial and non-sexist South Africa, the democratic government, as we heard, awarded him the Order of Luthuli. He belonged to a special generation of African revolutionaries like Moses Kotane. Very early on, saw no contradiction between the ANC and the SACP, and therefore between the National Democratic Revolution and the Socialist Revolution. In his memory, let us work to strengthen the structures of our movement, especially our alliance. Bra Ike loved his organization, the ANC. And perhaps a weakness was that he possibly loved it much more than he loved his own family. But he always saw his ANC as his real family. He always wanted to see the level of political consciousness rising amongst its members, and for that reason, he was overjoyed when we launched the O.R. Tambo School of Leadership earlier this year. Inspired by his understanding of the Alliance and the Congress movement as a whole, let us also intensify our political education program to produce members with an appreciation of the changing dynamics and the balance of forces in our country and the world. We must emulate his example of humility and voluntarism. Let us emulate his commitment to and love of education, as we heard, and encourage our children to take advantage of all the educational opportunities at their disposal and study particularly subjects that respond to the rapidly changing world of work. In bidding farewell to a giant of our liberation struggle, I call on all our people, especially our young people, to pick up the spear that has fallen. Theirs was a battle against the forces of racism. Let us strive and fight with equal measure to overcome the ills of our society today, the ills of poverty and injustice, of violence against women and children, against disease and against racism and inequality. In closing, I draw on the words of Homer's Iliad. A generation of men is like a generation of leaves. The wind scatters some upon the ground, while others, the burgeoning wood brings forth, and the season of spring comes on. So of men, one generation springs forth, and another ceases. We are the inheritors of the legacy of Bra Ike, and we assume the responsibility of ensuring that his sacrifices and the sacrifices of many others should never have been in vain. This, on our part, must include addressing and attending to matters that are of great life importance to the veterans of our struggle, especially those who bore arms to bring us our freedom, many of whom are in the twilight of their lives. We must continue our efforts to look after them. And I have made it my commitment as president to make sure that the men and women who fought side by side to bring us our freedom must be looked after. That we must provide housing for them. Many of them do not even have housing. Many of them are not involved in any economic activity. They are unemployed. Many of them are not even fully receiving the pensions and other benefits, health care and otherwise, that should accrue to them. We must ensure that those who fought for our liberation are spared the indignity and the hardship of life, because they were prepared to give up everything, including their own lives, to bring us freedom. To the family, I say, we share in your sorrow, and we join you in celebrating a life well lived in the service of others. I was most impressed with the input from Mike Maphoto, because much as he did not spend the 32 years of his life with his father, he had deep recognition for the contribution that his father had made so that all of us can be free. Bra Ike has run his race. He has fought the good fight. He represents the character of many men and women who have a long history of patriotism, bravery, and honor. To Bra Ike, I'd like to say we thank you. We thank you in the spirit and the commitment with which you executed your tasks. You put your life on the line for us to be free. We thank you for dedicating your life so that we can all be free. Our gratitude is the greatest and most fitting tribute that we can give you. You were one of a few amongst us who was prepared as set out in John 15:13. Greater love hath no man than this, that a man may lay down his life for his friends. You were prepared to sacrifice your own life. You sacrificed much more, and we honor you, Bra Ike. And so we say farewell, son of the soil, robala ka kgotso mokoni, wa ntšhia dikgolo. I thank you.
Thank you, Your Excellency, Mr. President. Commander-in-Chief of the South African National Defence Force, President Cyril Ramaphosa, I now wish to acknowledge the military command today led by General Vusi Masondo. They are here in respect to General Ike Maphoto. We thank them for always being there during these special occasions. It is at this point that we shall now hand over the ceremonies to the chaplain, Paul Kingsley Masemula, to deliver the sermon, the benediction, and command the ceremonial card of honor. Chaplain.
to the Commander-in-Chief and the President of the Republic, His Excellency President Ramaphosa, the Premier of Limpopo, Kgoshi Dikgale, Mokonantshi Dikgolo. In the interest of time, may I also acknowledge protocol already observed by all speakers before me. May I also start by extending a word of apology and condolences from the Chaplain General of the Department of Defense, Chaplain General Mnobisi Chamangile, who could not be with us this morning due to commitments beyond his control. Balapa, Lantate General Maphoto, Morale, Warobetche Romopela Garna Lekgono, Phuthego le setšhaba ka moka ka kakaretšo ke re go lena bohloko. May I also take this opportunity to give respect and acknowledge all other expressions of faith that may be present here this morning. I must admit, this was not an easy task that I was given by the Chaplain General to come and do. When the Chaplain General tasked me, I had two challenges to ponder. My first challenge was how best will I be able to stand in front of this very auspicious occasion after a eulogy read so eloquently by a president whose speech can be mistaken for a sermon. But I then said to myself, I must just stand up there and represent God to the best of my ability and nothing else. But secondly, I had a challenge to say, how do I begin to pay tribute and to comfort a family of such a great man for such great loss? A man who had dedicated his entire life to the service of the people. Again, I found solace in the fact that I knew General Maphoto personally, and he also took very special interest in me for some reason. First time when he was in hospital, I was summoned to say, you are summoned to one military hospital. There's a patient there by the name of Ike Maphoto, he wants to see you. Therefore, in my meditation and prayer, a message dropped into my spirit which I entitled, "You Did It For Me." Therefore, our scripture lesson this morning will come from the Gospel according to St. Matthew's chapter 25. And I'll reflect on verses from verses 35 down to verse 40, which reads thus: "For I was hungry, and you gave me food to eat. I was thirsty, and you gave me water to drink. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me." Then the righteous will ask, "But Master, when did we see you hungry and gave you food to eat? Or thirsty and gave you water to drink? And when did we see you sick or in prison and visited you? And when did we see you as a stranger and welcomed you? Or naked and clothed you?" Then the master will answer and say, "Truly, I say to you, as you did to one of the least of this, you did it for me." Brothers and sisters, esteemed guests, wow, what a scripture. As I meditated upon this scripture, it was clear to me that God is not so mysterious and complicated after all. If you look at it, it became clear to me that actually it is not even necessary what church you belong to or how much you pray per day. It is the small things that you do for the weak, the poor, and the downtrodden on a daily basis that is very high in the priority of heaven when it comes to looking at your contribution. It is contributions such as the one by General Ike Maphoto that we have heard even from the family, that he would say he would never leave a child not to go to school because of money. I stand before you today as a prophet of the Most High God and say, it is those little contributions that God will reward one day. He will say to people like General Ike Maphoto, well done, thou good and faithful servant. For whatever you did for the least of this in our society, you were actually doing it for me. Therefore I say to the family, find solace in these words. Every single deed of goodwill that Bra Ike did throughout his entire life will be opened the day he enters the gates of heaven, and it shall be said to him, well done, thou good and faithful servant. For whatever you did for the least of this, you did it for me. And therefore, I really don't want to delay the service any further, but to ask that we now bow for a prayer. Let us pray. O Lord, you who are the Father of mercies, the God of comfort, we pray today, this morning, as we bid farewell to this gallant soldier. We also pray for all those who are gathered here, oh dear God, including our Commander-in-Chief, the President, that we may all today find solace in understanding that you are a God of simple things, that any good service that we do for the people shall be recognized by the kingdom of God. Let us find solace, oh dear God, and be comforted that the noble deeds that our general did throughout his entire life will be counted in heaven. Help us to all walk in his footsteps, and remember that you are watching us all the time, that our faith must be practical and helpful to the poor, the weak, and the least in our society. Oh dear God, we ask all this in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Ghost. Amen. Thank you very much. That brings us to that point of the service where we shall now proceed to the cemetery. We shall do so led by the military procession. And as I read the names of the pallbearers and the bearers, that will be a command to us to therefore stand up and start with the military procession. As we leave, the pallbearers for the funeral of General Maphoto will be as follows. Brigadier General K.S. Masipa, Brigadier General V. Luke, Rear Admiral Junior Grade J.A. Mboto, Rear Admiral Junior Grade E.M. Masanabo, Brigadier General J.E. Krause, Brigadier General H. Smith, Brigadier General G.S. Soldat, and Brigadier General M.D. Mbi. For the bearers, the lineup is as follows. Master Warrant Officer F. Shasha, Master Warrant Officer M.E. Mahani, Master Warrant Officer L.J. Jonas, Master Warrant Officer K.M. Gama, Master Warrant Officer A. DeBrain, Master Warrant Officer K.S. Mukwebo, Master Warrant Officer M.F. Mbatsani, and Master Warrant Officer M.V. Matsani. The warrant officer in charge is the Chief Warrant Officer, B.U. Ndima. Ladies and gentlemen, now that the bearers have taken their posts, may I allow the MC to make the last announcements to guide us as we proceed to the cemetery. Master of Ceremonies.
Thank you, Chaplain. Your Excellency, the President, fellow mourners, the family and the President are requested to follow the military procession. Due to limited space at the cemetery, we request kindly that only mourners who are wearing pink wristbands join the family and the President at the cemetery. Naturally, they will be joined as well by the military command of the South African National Defence Force, ministers, deputy ministers, the Premier, former premiers, and veterans. The rest of us will remain here where lunch will be served after the departure of the procession. Mourners wearing only accreditations, neck accreditations, will be directed once the procession has left as to where they need to proceed. I hand over back to the chaplain. Please stand.